This is my digital story on becoming a teacher of math. This field experience presented me with the opportunity of learning from a group of fourth grade students in Mrs. Cook's class at Ward Elementary School. Growing up, math had always been a subject I gravitated towards until I reached higher levels of education and could not visualize it in a relatable or exciting way. I loved engaging in problems with my classmates, but quickly realized after elementary school that viewing it through the abstract lens of equations was a challenge I would struggle with and avoid as time went on. This course was refreshing as it brought me back to having fun when learning math and has taught me what qualities an effective teacher of mathematics displays, some of which include building relationships, clear communication, use of mathematical language and productive strategies, patience, adaptability, and high expectations of achievement. When I first started teaching, I had a good idea of what classroom instruction would involve. However, I was surprised at how directly the process standards are associated with instructional practices. It became clear that effective teaching requires careful preparation, intentionality, and a deep understanding of skills that promote student development, proving to be a student centered approach with a focus on fostering a growth mindset. Teachers create lessons that build coherently towards objectives based on course content, curriculum scope and sequence, and expected student outcomes, effectively communicating goals and expectations in their planning. My growing conception of lesson planning has influenced my teaching, providing me with a new framework around which my own practices are now structured. The takes from my curriculum and inform the content of each lesson, laying the foundation for a well aligned flow of focus, direct instruction, guided practice, closing, and independent practice. I found that a strong focus at the beginning of a lesson helps to set up the direct instruction for success, which reshaped how I view lessons and challenged me to create a hook that not only captivates students, but also helps me gauge their prior knowledge and encourage critical thinking. My lesson delivery incorporated what was taught through the use of correct mathematical language, process standards, the tools for teaching math, different theories, and visualization. For example, in the first lesson, I chose specific tools for teaching math in alignment with Piaget's theory of cognitive constructivism, including an anchor chart, flashcards, base 10 blocks, and a place value graphic organizer. This allowed students to visually grasp the concept of relating fractions to decimals through the pursuit of learning and put it into practice concretely, representationally, and abstractly. This lesson was created with the understanding that knowledge is acquired through personal experiences and mental processes that are relevant to development, along with Vygotsky's idea of social constructivism that knowledge is actively constructed in social interaction with others. The Texas teaching standards emphasize that teachers understand the role of language and culture in learning and know how to modify their practices to support language acquisition so that language is comprehensible and instruction is fully accessible. In the second lesson, I noticed that two of my students were successful in using mathematical language when finding the perimeter of a polygon and its missing side lengths, bringing clarity when problem solving and helping them express their connections with the right vocabulary. For example, I had given one of the girls a problem with a picture of a star that stated that all of its sides were 18 inches. When she had looked at it, she was able to tell me what the sides were congruent and that she needed to perform the operation of addition to make sure all the side lengths of the polygon were accounted for to find the total perimeter of the outer length of the shape. This brought further depth to our discussion as I prompted her to think about other operations she could use when solving and gave her confidence as she was able to explain the same process we had walked through with the girl sitting next to her. Along with this, it was made clear that teachers identify readiness for learning and understand how development in one area may affect students' performance in other areas. I had one student who would shut down after feeling discouraged and close herself off from guidance, making it hard to communicate with her and find a way to form connections. Although it presented a challenge, it was a great opportunity to model the correct use of language and figure out how to make the math visual, as she would often count with her fingers. Knowing teachers have expertise in how their content vertically and horizontally aligns with the grade level/subject area continuum was beneficial when approaching strategies to help her solve problems, giving me the grace and patience needed to start with simple math and work our way up from there. This taught me that teachers organize curriculum to facilitate student understanding of the subject matter, as I was able to practice adapting each lesson to actively engage my other students in the independent practice while the two of us would work together on problems one at a time. This was connected to the idea that teachers gauge student progress and ensure student mastery of content knowledge and skills by providing assessments aligned to instructional objectives and outcomes that are accurate measures of student learning. The evidence collected in a formative assessment tool is significant when it is meaningful and relevant to the learning goals. Its purpose is to provide insight into a student's understanding and progress by monitoring their responses, thinking, engagement and participation, self assessed reflection, and behavior for the teacher to follow up with appropriate feedback beneficial to their conceptual development. Having an awareness of these factors aided me in making sound instructional decisions, such as identifying areas for more practice, adjusting the pace of instruction, offering additional resources of support, and personalizing my instruction to ensure that each need was met. This made it clear that individual intervention was the most successful approach to learning in my situation, while independent practice was facilitated for those confident and eager to practice their skills. After doing this myself, it is evident that teachers vary methods of assessing learning to accommodate students' learning needs, linguistic differences, and/or varying levels of background knowledge. When teaching, I started with the expectation that we were going to review math my students already built previous schema of and solidify their understanding of it by reviewing different math concepts. Implementing time for students to actively work with one another and provide input into the lesson proved to give the most return for my investment of incorporating this into each part of it, while also presenting a challenge considering that one of my students did not want to participate. Having the opportunity to problem solve, communicate, form connections, represent and reason with proof as a whole group greatly contributed to my students' ability to make sense of and connect math to meaning, setting them up for success in independent learning. Through this, I have come to appreciate these moments of collaboration and communication as they are key in building a deeper, more meaningful understanding of mathematics, creating a classroom environment where learning is active, participatory, and student driven. As an aspiring teacher, it is my utmost desire to love the individuals I have the privilege of serving. It is the primary role of a teacher to help foster independence within an individual's path of learning, as they are a stepping stone that contributes to the collective outcome of who one becomes. I am determined to implement productive mathematical strategies into my teaching that promote critical thinking and problem solving skills beneficial for success beyond the classroom, providing direction and intervention when necessary. It is in the struggle that students learn to persist and where self-motivation is derived, teaching them to draw their own conclusions as well as collaborate with those around them to solidify their understanding of a concept. Teachers create the possibilities for a child to invent and discover. With this in mind, I want to ensure that the students in my classroom are able to positively associate math with learning as I implement the non-negotiable expectation of stepping into it with confidence and excitement on my end. This experience has helped me to realize that knowing the content can only go so far without good delivery, and it is the delivery that truly ignites curiosity and fosters a love for learning. By creating a hospitable environment where students are empowered to explore and try new things without fear, I can help them reach their full potential in math and develop skills necessary for success so they see it as something meaningful. Thanks for watching my story.